So let's talk about Xset NRG in the Nerd Street Valorant Winter Championship Final. And I want to talk about this game for a couple of reasons. One, it was quite an interesting little game to talk about with some interesting things going on. But for the second time, I did a video about this because Sonics played Astra on Breeze. And I thought that was quite interesting. Obviously, you never really see Astra on Breeze, or at least you didn't before the changes. And, well, out came Xset again with Astra. And there's been a lot of talk about Astra recently and how, Astra is pretty overpowered. And I genuinely believe that you could run these four agents on pretty much any map and have success. I know that, you might be like, well, Viper isn't great on maps like Haven, for instance, or Ascent, maybe. You might think that's a bit of a throw. I genuinely believe that if a team wanted to, they could play these four, probably plus then KO or Sky, as we see here from Xset. So these four agents, plus KO or Sky, and you will have a good comp. Because that's just the way the game is right now. And so obviously this kind of needs to change in the future, but I do think that it is possible on literally every single map to run these four plus KO or a Sky, and you'll have a good comp, which is pretty crazy. And the reason for that is, obviously, this is a no Sentinel comp, but the reason that you can get away with it is these two are basically proto Sentinels. They give you so much defensively on their own anyway, and I think it's fine, for potentially Viper to exist in that space, because I feel like that's where the Viper was designed for that space. She's in that Sentinel controller hybrid role. Astra, perhaps it's less okay for her to exist in that space, because I don't think Astra was designed with that in mind necessarily. So that might need to change a bit, and obviously, you can always tweak sort of the power of these things as well. And that's not to, get rid of Jet or Sova, say that they aren't a problem either, because these two are just as essential in this team comp, and also probably could use with some nerfs in some way. But I do think that it's pretty crazy we've got to this point. Where even on Breeze, a map that not too long ago you would have said Astra is, pretty useless on, now is actually seeing some picks. It'll be interesting to see if in the VCT we also start to see Astra on this map. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what they did with the Astra-Viper combo. And this is the first thing that I pointed out. And I pointed this out in the Sonics game that I analyzed as well. Which was, if I were Sonics, this is what I would have been doing, right? Put your Viper Orb up here in Nest. Get Astra to smoke this off. Maybe as well you could smoke off underneath the doors also. And then you just control so much of mid that, you can really do whatever you want at that point, right? If you can control the tube, if you can control all of the actual mid and tube as well, then you're going to be doing pretty well. And that's what I would have started out with if I was running Astra-Viper on this map as a team. That's sort of what my default plan would be, right? That we can use that and get a lot of control of the map, which is great. And as you can see here, Xset are doing that, and so I thought that was a pretty good plan in general. And it leads to rounds like the one we're about to see, where, again, because this A site, you can come in from so many different ways. Sure, they are against, pistols here with guns, so of course the advantage is with them. But if we just play it through and see what happens, you'll see that this is kind of the benefit of this, right? You get the Astra Smoke there, you've got the Orb and Nest. It turns out that Knights kind of don't have any major control of mid anyway. They're kind of just playing the sites with their pistols, which is fair enough. But, there is no control. They open the door, and again, here comes that swing with the door open, with multiple people coming from different ways. You just get easy kills like that. And it's a pretty easy site take. As I said, they are against pistols. You would expect this, but again, you're just seeing the potential behind this whole plan. They could have been anywhere up mid. In this round, they actually probably could have snuck up mid completely and see what happened. But a take on this A site is very easy when you have the two controllers. So next up, let's take a look at the very next round. So now, of course, the gun advantage is with Knights and not Xset. So let's see how they manage this. Well, they've actually baited quite a lot of the Knights waves over to this A side. Of course, they've got this Viper wall, which I mentioned in the other video as well about Sonics, that, because you have an Astra now, you can just put down the same Viper wall every single round. And it could mean that you're going there, and it could mean that you're not going there, right? There's no information advantage for when you put down that Viper's wall if you also have an Astra, because you could go anywhere still. And so that's what they pretty much did as well with a lot of these Viper walls. Their default plan was, we're just going to put this Viper wall down every single round. And so that's what they do. And then they use like a KO knife as well. And they drag in a bunch of rotations. And so it's just this chamber on B site. But of course, Xset don't actually know that themselves. So let's see how they go about taking this B site. So as you can see, they start edging their way up towards B main. They actually ping where, you know, they feel like the chamber thing is. Look at this Astra utility here. We get the suck right onto the chamber. And we're going to go back and take a look at exactly how this went about, because it was pretty beautiful in all. In trying to just, you know, limit what really Knights could do, even if they had multiple people there. Okay, so let's go back. So, as we know, as we saw from the Astra, we're going to get a star placement here, right? And so what that's going to do is obviously, you know, push off anyone here. It's going to be a problem, you know, for where the chamber actually was. But they're also going to make you sort of be there, because they're going to knife here as well, which is going to get this whole kind of area. And obviously you want to avoid the knife, so you go into the suck, and that's going to create problems. And then you got the Astra smoke here as well, so they're cutting off that portion of the map. Also, you're going to get the jet dash, and then basically they're just going to say, if anyone is here, basically, you're going to be hopefully a bit too far away to deal with it. We're just going to try and kill anyone on this left-hand side first, deal with them, and then we'll deal with you later. And because they did drag over all those rotations, of course, it's going to go pretty well for them, and they're going to end up going 1-for-1 with the trade on the person on site, and obviously getting the site and the post plant. Which is really, really good. As you can see, the knife is kind of back here now. They push that chamber out, and they get the free kill. They just get in there, and it was really well done. But now in this same round, let's watch the post plant. So we'll get up the map so we can see what is actually going on. So we have 3 players here, obviously for Xset, and then 1 little player in here. Obviously we have 3 on the flank and 1 back here. So it's a bit of a weird retake scenario, not one you see all the time. And let's see how Xset deal with this. Well, as you can see on the normal mode, you can just about see it here. There is a little drone there. And that drone is going to be crucial. And this is another thing, you know, if you can get onto sites this kind of way and keep things like Sova drone in your back pocket, it's going to come in very handy, because this Sova drone, as we're about to see, spots 2 people there. That's like, oh, that's big time, right? You know, you're not normally expecting more than 1 person on the flank, but they just saw 2. So, you know, that's pretty handy information. They get a free kill there as well from this Viper, who does very well to stay very patient, and gets a second kill as well. And they mop up. And this is with worse guns. So that Viper position was really, really crucial. Didn't hear anything in mid, that Viper, which is kind of weird based off where that Viper was, obviously. In here, like, you know, if someone's coming down here, they'll run this part. You would expect to hear them. You know, you're expecting something to be heard, either from here or here. You're expecting noise. So there was no noise at all. Then the Sova drone spotted 2, obviously, in window. And then they kind of knew, okay, that's probably where they were. They waited for them to run all the way up here. Timed it very well to sneak down. Got 2 free kills from it. Very, very well done in all. And that Viper pretty much helped win the round, helped secure the round. Ended up with 3 players alive on a bonus. Very well done by Xset. So now let's take a look at round 6, and as we can see, we're kind of midway into the round. There's 51 seconds left. We've got this Viper pit on A, so, you know, Xset were kind of like, well, that's not go A. They eventually, you know, tried to sneak their way up mid, and as you can see, they have done so pretty successfully with both the Astra and Jet. Now, Xset actually have worse guns in this round as well, so this is a bit of a weird play, but it's going to lead to something pretty weird happening overall. But honestly, a really cool thing happened here. If we roll this through, we'll go through on the normal mode first, and then we'll come back and take a look at the map mode as well. So here is Astra, obviously pushed up very, very high, and this side take towards B is going to happen, and it's going to be pretty cool what goes on here when we go back and take a look at it. So they get the first kill there from the Viper, and then as you can see, the kills just start coming in Xset's favor, and all of a sudden it's a 5v2. But let's talk about what they did. Let's go back and take a look at what really happened here. So we see that the Astra, sorry, is getting obviously up into that. We just saw that happened. This flash actually didn't manage to catch anyone. But then let's pause it here, right? Because what you just saw was a very, very weird Viper wall. This Viper wall here, it's extremely weird. In fact, this is almost a Viper wall that you see happen a lot of the time for defenders. Defenders will put up this kind of wall for a retake wall. You know, once the post plant scenario, you'll generally get a lot of people in the post plant, you know, playing back here. So the idea is you just cut them off and you get a lot of space on the post plant, right? But this is an attacking wall doing this, and it's super, super, super duper interesting. Now they have worse guns, so I think the idea here was we're trying to isolate a fight in here, right, where you can't get any other support. We've got worse guns that are probably better up closer range than your guns. So let's do that. And also, very crucially, they know that this Astra is snuck in here. So they know that no one is in this elbow position either. You know, they're pretty happy that no one is in this area also. So basically, when they push through here, when this wall is up, they know that pretty much all they have to check is like straight and slightly to the right, and that's all that they're checking for. And it's really, really well done in general, because as we're going to see, next up comes the KO knife, right? You get the KO knife back here, and that means that anyone sort of where this sky is going to push out, you know, away from the KO knife. You're always expecting that people will push away from the KO knife, which is going to bring them into these two positions, and that's exactly where they expect them to be, because what's going to happen is that Viper is going to find that kill on the sky, because, you know, they're expecting, it's about to happen right now. This Viper is going to kill the sky right there, because that's where they're expecting the sky to be, because they knifed all of this, so the sky kind of had to go over here. And then they're also expecting that someone will be close left, and look at where they are, exactly where they expected them to be. And you're going to get the KO nade hit this chamber right there. You know, this chamber is in massive trouble because the KO nade comes right at his feet. It's a perfect take. Obviously, the wall obscures the vision, so he can't actually see what's going on. They're on top of him before he even knows, before he even fires a shot. He's dead. Def also manages to get a kill of the rotation, you know, if someone trying to come back across here. He also gets one there. Very well done. And all of a sudden, you're in a 5v2 and a very winnable situation, and it's like, what a beautiful execute of using both the knowledge of where the Astra and Jet managed to get to gave them some information. Then you get the cool Viper wall that's kind of a bit different. Then the KO utility was perfect in pushing people to certain angles. You know, that KO utility said they're going to be over here and over here if it doesn't hit anyone. And they exactly knew where they were going to be based off that. They get the 2 kills. It was beautifully done. And this is with worse guns. So now let's move on to round 13. It's actually 7-5 to Knights, who kind of managed to pull it back. Xset kind of threw a couple post plants. But what I want to point out on this, so this is pistol round with Xset on defense. I want to point out this Viper wall. This might be the weirdest Viper wall I've ever seen. Now, you will often get retake walls on Viper on this B site, but this one is in particular very, very weird, as I'm sure many of you will know. But if you're wondering what exactly this Viper wall is doing, well, let's take a look at the round and see what happens. So we've gone a bit into the round, and as you can see, it's actually a 5v4 at this point to Knights, who have, you know, got the whole site, and Xset are going to play retake, and as you can see, all 4 are coming back here. So let's take a look at how they use this wall, shall we? The spike is just about to go down, as you can see, and well, here we go. We get the Viper wall, it comes up, and let's see what they do with it. So you can see that they're just charging down. They get the first kill. They get a trade kill there. All of a sudden, it's a 3v3. They actually end up in a 3v1, and somehow Knights don't convert this. This wasn't great, but it was pretty good from Aaron here. And yeah, he gets the ace, actually, and manages to win the round. Now, it was a very weird Viper wall, and obviously, as we saw them, you know, kind of just charge down here. They did make a mistake, and I'm gonna, or at least what I believe, you know, something that perhaps they could have changed. If we go back here a couple ticks, let's take a look at it from the map view. So as you can see, they're all like, you know, ready to charge down here. They start getting those kills, they start getting those trades, but keep an eye on the Sova, because the Sova is going to be really important. He crosses the wall and lets the other enemy Sova cross without him being seen, and the Sova dies up here. That to me was the mistake. That what should have happened instead probably was the Sova probably should have just held back here and waited to see if anyone from the opposing team crossed the wall. There wasn't really much need for him to cross the wall, because he's going out into the unknown. He doesn't know where they are. So the likely scenario is exactly what happened. He runs into someone just watching it and dies. Whereas if he holds that wall, what probably happens is he lives. This Sova that went across just dies for free and doesn't even get that first kill either. So that was a little mistake that they made. But overall, it was a weird, crazy wall, and obviously it kind of ended up working. Okay, let's take a look at this round here. It's actually 12-8 now to Knights. Backs against the wall for Xset. They were 12-7 down. They got to win a lot of rounds in a row. But as you can see, or at least down here on the map, you can see they have gone for this A aggression. And as Knights are taking it nice and slow, we get this wall up mid as well to delay them there. And this is just perfect, right? It's just absolutely perfect. You get this Viper wall here, which is kind of like a, you know, just delay anything too fast up mid, you know, make them a bit suspicious potentially of some mid aggression or something like that. But it's not mid aggression. Instead, it's cave aggression. And as you're going to see, this Sova is going to take full advantage of that when they need it most. And I thought that this was really cool if we let this play out. Basically, what's going to happen is obviously they're checking tube and things like that. But this Sova, as you could see right now, is coming behind them. He gets the kill. He nopes out of there as well. Now, actually, someone's going to come up on him at the top of Tube as well. And yeah, he manages to live. And that's just so big, right? Absolutely crazy that he managed to live there. As they were checking Tube, one actually died in Tube. But for this Sova, that basically was a round-winning play. And they will end up converting this round. And then finally, I feel like we have to show this round, which is round number 22. It's 12-9 as Xset begin their comeback march. Spoiler alert, Xset ended up winning this game, by the way, which is kind of crazy. They go to overtime, they win 14-12. They win 7 rounds in a row, which is pretty mental. But here we go. This is going to be eventually a take towards this A site. And we're going to end up in a pretty crazy post-plant scenario. It's going to be absolutely wild. As Breeze is, you know, kind of known for really these kind of 5v5 retakes, these kind of big crazy retakes, or at least, you know, high number retakes at the very least. You can see Chamber here is exploring down Tube. We get a push from mid as well. We have the Sova in there, but we actually get this Astra wall here. This is what I want to point out because it's kind of interesting with Astra. So this Astra wall kind of goes across here. Not sure it was perfectly placed because Knights are going to make a decision, and I thought that this was an interesting one because there is a little gap to plant the spike on this side of the Astra wall. Now, they don't know necessarily what's going on over here, you know, in this area. So they're going to make the choice to actually cross the wall instead and plant the spike. I think that was probably a mistake. I think if they probably just plant here on their side of the wall, they have 3 people here. You know, take the chance of maybe pushing back out this way. You know, obviously we can see it's just the Jet there. Maybe they get that kill and then they win this round, right? It's an interesting split-second decision that maybe they didn't even think about, but it's going to end up playing a big part in this round. Now, they get the first kill here on this KO as well. That was obviously very well done. This Jet, this push through mid gets the KO kill. But here we go. Let's just watch because it's a pretty crazy post plant. In general, this Viper is sitting in this corner behind their wall, and as you're about to see, is about to, you know, spot one there, and then they're gonna get the kill on the Viper on the other side of that as we just flick away from it. All things going on, people coming from behind, people coming from mid, like just everything going crazy. Ends up in a 3v1 though for Xset. They get the ping off there, and they are going to end up winning this round, despite this kind of weird shot. They do end up winning that round, but if we go back, it's just absolutely crazy. It's like, you know, what do you focus on next? Like, if you go back and look at it from the map perspective, like, just watching the map is pretty crazy. Like, you can watch the chamber first if you want, and see what the chamber's journey was. There's, like, a bunch of different stories that go on in this round. So, as you can see, the wall comes off. The KO dies here to the Jet. If we watch the chamber this time, chamber's going to come around, and I'm pretty sure get a free kill here, but then get traded out. Yeah, so the Chamber gets that kill, but then look at this. He's just going to cross the wall at like the worst time possible as soon as the Jet is looking at him and die. So that was the Chamber's story. If we go back in time and watch this Viper, you can see that they planted on their side of the wall. Obviously, this Jet went off there, but the Viper gets that kill. BCJ, who was sitting here as Sova, you know, manages to somehow find this Jet as well, being peaked 2v1, and ends up in that 3v1, and they end up converting the round. But a crazy round, and it just goes to show those small split-second decisions can make all the difference, because I really do believe, you know, planning on this side of the wall was always going to be a risk, and there is a space, or at least they could have planted like on the wall at the very least. I think, you know, there was a bit of a space there to, you know, take advantage of that astral, which I'm pretty sure if they could replace this wall, they probably would have, you know, made sure that it was just cutting off the site rather than the other way around and giving them a little gap. But a crazy thing overall happened there. Crazy post-plant scenario, but that's what makes Breeze pretty fun. And so my overall takeaway from this game is that Astra, I'm a bit worried, will become meta on this map. I think that right now teams are still figuring out how to play Astra on this map. I still think that, you know, if a team wanted to perform optimally on a map, they'd probably be better off with agents that they're more used to on this map, like a Cypher or something like that, maybe a Chamber instead, that are a bit more easy, I think, to, you know, come up with how you're going to use them. With Astra, the potential is so high, and this is why Astra is so strong, is because Astra is going to be very difficult for teams to figure out the best way of using Astra on this map, but the potential is so high that it's probably worth, if you want to get into it early on, particularly in these kind of, you know, secondary tournaments for someone like Xset, it makes a lot of sense, right, to try that Astra, try and master Astra on this map, because I do think that there is a place for Astra on this map, and that is quite scary.